Hi everyone. So now we have some nice HTML code and we have some nice CSS in our tacos page. Let me show you what it looks like. Here it is. Okay, we have these sections that are stacked. We want to now change some of the CSS so that when we extend the width of the browser, our sections will line up next to each other. Right now we have it styled for mobile first, meaning this looks good on a mobile device, and now we're going to make it a little bit more complex, and we're going to add Flexbox and media queries to make it look better on a desktop computer. All right, here's my folder. Just kind of move that. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to add some comment tags to my CSS. If we take a look at my index page, it's all really nicely organized. I've got all these comment tags in here telling me exactly where I'm at each place in this document. I don't have a lot of CSS right now. I can scroll through that pretty easy, but sometimes you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of lines of CSS. So it's really important to keep it organized. What I like to do, and what I'm going to have you do in this class, is to organize the CSS. So I'm going to start at the top. Part of this is just so that you learn to organize your CSS. So comment tag in CSS is /star. Okay. So below this comment tag, I'm going to have things that apply to most, if not all, of the pages of my website. And that's going to include the rules for the body tags, the H1, H2, H3, the footer. Although I'm not going to put that up here at the top. One of the other things I like to do is make sure a page is organized like the HTML document. Sometimes that's kind of hard to do, but in this case, we don't have a lot of CSS and it's really easy to do. And so I'm asking also that you do that with your CSS. So I'm going to copy and paste this where I want it to go. The next semantic tag in my HTML document is going to be the nav or the header. I don't have anything for the nav right now, but I know I'm going to, so I'm going to go ahead and just put this in here. Nav stuff, super technical. Headers. Pages, and I'm going to move main up into my global section and top text. The reason I'm moving these up is because I'm going to assume on this website, which is pretty small, that I'm going to have H1, H2, possibly H3. I'm going to have this main semantic tag surrounding all of the content and all of the pages. That may not be true. Maybe you have a page that it's not going to quite work for, but the assumption is that it's going to be sort of almost like it's a template where everything fits into the same thing. You're not rebuilding pages. You're using some of the same content, or I'm sorry, some of the same CSS and layout between pages to make it a little bit easier. Top text, that's this stuff up here. So I'm going to assume that regardless of which page I go to, that I'm going to have a headline. Headers, I made this plural because I know that sometimes people have headers and they switch out images, and sometimes the CSS has to be different from page to page, so here's room for that to grow. Pages, these are individual pages. Right now we've just got this section where I'm going to put the Flexbox. This is on the home page. This could be the same from page to page. It might be different though, depending on the layout that you want to have in your pages. So this is fine to start. Actually, I also need to now add the footer. Okay. This is fine to start. So if I go back to the HTML page and I look at Taco Child, that's the sections right here. If I look at those, here they are, and they're sitting inside of this Taco Parent, this article. What's going to have to happen is, right now this works really good for mobile first, for that small device. If we were to look at it on a website browser, we need these columns to stack next to each other. So we're going to give the Taco Parent a property of flex, and that way everything inside of it will line up next to each other. So let's start our media queries. Add media, screen, and so this means when our browser is extended beyond 600 pixels that things will change. I want to create a rule for the article that has a class called Taco Parent, and it is surrounding the Taco Children. So it's surrounding the 3 sections. Okay. So because we added that property, now these columns are sitting next to each other. They don't look very good. We want to have space in between them. So let's continue. So when the screen exceeds 600 pixels, I want to change Taco Child in the following way. First of all, I want to leave the background color and the border radius and the padding. I actually don't even care about this margin at the bottom, but I need to add some things. Instead of running 100% width or the full width of the browser, I need it to run much less. So let's start with 30%. Save it, not much of a change. And let me explain why. What's going on here is that we have each of these columns set to 30%. That equals 90%. However, we have a padding of 5%. If you add 30% 3 times plus all that padding, so that's 5% on each side, that's 30% total. Anyways, we end up with more than 100%. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add box sizing. Box sizing is going to change this so that if I want the width to be 30% for each column, it's going to include the padding. That's awesome. I'm going to place box sizing right down here, but I am going to move it up to the top of my page because it is a global item. But just for now, we'll type it in here. Okay. Now look what happened. We lost space over here to the right because now each of these columns is actually 30%. That means the total area is 90% of our full width. And if you're thinking, well, it's not really a full width because you've got space over here on the left, well, that is that 5% margin that we have set to the main section. So this 90% is going to be 90% of whatever container it's sitting in. In this case, it's the main section. So I'm going to come up here and choose Justify Content, and this is one of the properties that will help me space out my columns. Awesome, look at that. Now, I actually think that this is too much space in between each one. Visually, it just doesn't look right. It's taking up too much real estate. So I'm going to come back and adjust my width a little bit here, 32%. Okay, makes the space in between there a little bit less, and I think that that looks pretty good. So reminder, we were able to do this with this box sizing element so that we didn't have to worry about the padding in here. I can change the padding, I can make it 10%, I can make it 0%. The width of this element is still going to be 32%. That doesn't work with margin, but it does work with padding and width. I'm going to take the box sizing rule, because it really doesn't belong down here. Come up here, and I like to place it right at the top because it really affects everything in the page. Okay, keep watching.